Hi there YouTube friends, welcome back to another episode of Auntie's Kitchen. Simple and delicious food cooked and prepared in South Korea with South Korean ingredients. If you're new to this channel, hi, and yesio, welcome. I'm interested to know, please leave a comment below if you have a favorite bread. What is your favorite bread? Today I'm going to be showing you one of my favorite breads to eat, and that is, as the title suggests, an English muffin. Now, interestingly enough, these didn't originate in England. They're actually from America. They were given the name English muffins so that it was easy to differentiate between them and the American muffin, and so that people didn't get confused. They're real simple and easy to make, but they do have a long rise time. So we're going to put our yeast in with some milk and sugar, and that will take about 15 minutes for the yeast to activate. We will then add in our other dry ingredients, some flour, salt and baking powder and some butter, and we're going to mix these together and then knead for about 10 minutes. We're then going to cover this in an oiled bowl and put it in a warm place in the apartment for about an hour to an hour and a half until it has doubled in size. We're then going to bring it back to the kitchen, and on a flat wooden surface, we're going to roll out our dough and cut out our muffin shapes. We're going to place these on another board covered with corn flour. We're then going to place these back into that warm area for their final rise of about 30 to 40 minutes. Then we're going to bring them back into the kitchen, and this is my favorite part of cooking the English muffins. We're going to have a pan on top of the hob. You want a very hot pan, but a very, very low heat. So get a pan that holds its heat well. We're going to place some corn flour into the pan, and we're going to slowly cook our English muffins, allowing the dough to really cook thoroughly inside. Once it hits that nice light brown color, we're going to flip them over and brown the other side. Then put them onto a cooling rack and allow them to cool, and they are best served warm with melted butter over the top. I personally like them with a boiled egg, but eat them and serve them however you like. The English muffins freeze really well. I keep them in my freezer, and then on a morning when I fancy an English muffin, I can pull it out of my freezer, 30 seconds in the microwave, in the toaster, and it's as if it's just come out of the oven. They are absolutely delicious. So today, let me show you how we make English muffins in South Korea, originally from America.
The first thing I need to do is activate my yeast, so I measure out some milk and pour it into my pan. All the measurements for this recipe can be found in the description below. I add some sugar to my milk and then put it on my hob and bring it to a gentle simmer until the sugar is incorporated with the milk. As soon as I can't feel any more grains in my milk, I then place this into my mixing bowl. Yeast is very temperamental, so I do a quick check with my finger. It's too hot, so I get on with preparing the other ingredients. For my dry ingredients, I mix together some flour, salt and baking powder. If your milk is too hot, it will kill your yeast. If your milk is too cold, it will not activate the yeast. So my milk has come up to temperature and is nice and warm. I add my instant yeast. Now I get this instant yeast from G-Market, but you can also get it from Home Plus. Once I've measured out my yeast, I give it a good mix inside of the bowl, and then I put it in a warm place in the apartment for about 10 to 15 minutes. After 10 minutes, I get my bowl and it looks great. My yeast has activated with the sugar and the milk and has a great froth on top. Next, I add my dry ingredients, some flour, baking powder and my salt, and some butter that I have quickly melted in the microwave. Now, if you don't have a mixer, don't worry. Just stir your ingredients together with a spoon, and then once it comes together, put it onto a flat wooden surface and knead it together for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I take my dough out of the bowl and I place some oil inside. Then I cover this and I will leave it in a warm place in my apartment for about an hour until it doubles in size. After an hour, I'm really happy with the rise on my dough, so I place it onto my lightly floured wooden board. I gently bring it into shape and get it ready to roll and cut out my muffins. Before I roll out my muffins, I place some corn flour onto my board so that the muffins do not stick on their second rise. I get this from iHerb, but you might know other places where you can get it from. Take your time when rolling out your dough. I roll it and then turn it, roll it and turn it, and this gives me a nice even shape. Now I'm looking for about a centimetre in thickness. I think that makes a really great size muffin. If you want a slightly thicker muffin, then obviously don't roll out your dough so thin. Once the dough is where I want it to be, I begin to cut out my muffins. Now, if you don't have a cutter, use a glass or a cup. I particularly like this cutter and think it's a great size for my muffins. I then cut out as many as I can in the dough that I have prepared and place them onto my corn flour. Don't worry if they look a little bit thin to you right now. Remember, there's a second rise and they will thicken up during that time. Once you have used all of the space on your dough, bring it back together and knead it, pulling it from the outside to the middle. And you'll see here I pull outside to the middle, and then just keep turning it. And then once you've got a ball, turn it over and roll this out again. I keep repeating this procedure until I have used all of my dough. Once I've used all of the dough, I then cover my muffins and I will put these for a final rise for about 30 to 40 minutes in a warm area. 40 minutes later, I place some corn flour into my pan and start cooking my muffins. You want a very low heat and you want a pan that holds its temperature well. If you're making English muffins for the first time, I recommend not putting so many in the pan. This will make it easier to move them around. I sprinkle some corn flour on top of the English muffin and allow them to cook. Each side takes between 5 and 7 minutes, but it's important to keep checking them and keep moving them. For this first batch, I have the temperature a little bit too high, so the colour is a little bit darker than I usually like. So for the next few batches, I turn the temperature down. After 5 minutes, I check the top side and they have the colour that I was looking for, so I remove them from the pan. A quick tip, I have found it useful to clean out your pan with a kitchen towel in between each batch. While your first batch of English muffins are cooling on your rack, place your next into the pan so they can start cooking. Repeat the exact same procedure, a little bit of corn flour on top, and then let them cook. Once they are golden brown, remove them from the pan onto your cooling rack and repeat with the next batch of muffins. So here we have simple, delicious English muffins. They take a long time to rise, but they are well worth the wait. Some people like to use a fork when they open their English muffin. I think the best way is to cut them with a bread knife. As I cut into my English muffin, you will see inside a perfectly cooked and delicious bread, light and soft inside. I personally think that the best way to eat an English muffin is when it is warm, so that your butter melts into the bread. Today is the first day I will be using a non-Korean product. Don't worry, you can order it online. Marmite is a famous British salty yeast spread that we like to put on warm toast or muffins. Just like kimchi, it is an acquired taste. If you're interested in trying this, you can order it from the British Corner Shop and I'll put a link in the description below. There is nothing like eating freshly cooked and warm bread. Absolutely delicious. As I always say, please don't take my word for it. Now go and cook this for your friends and family. I look forward to seeing you in another episode. I have some great recipes lined up to share with you. So until then, have a great week. God bless.